This is not Google Maps. This is the Northern Arizona Real Estate Tours. I'm in my orange Jeep again, and we're out running around today. I thought I would show you how you do this whole kayaking thing here in Verde Valley, here in Clarkdale, Cottonwood, Arizona. And so this is Tuesday Groot Road, and this is Tuesday Groot, I think it's called the Memorial Bridge. So you see all this greenery here? It's all fed by the Verde River. So I'm going to show you the Tuesday Groot pull-out point where you have a little dock area where you can take your kayak out, and then Tapco, where you actually, hopefully you saw the Verde there as it went by, where you actually put your kayak in. So maybe a little bit longer video. So from this point, you're about almost 3 miles of kayaking from this Tapco point to the Tuesday Groot Bridge, and then about a few hundred yards beyond the Tuesday Groot Bridge, there's a takeout, a pull-out point for your kayaks. So this gives you sort of an idea. Clarkdale, 5,000 people. Cottonwood right behind us is about 13,000 people. But this area all got started back in the early 1900s. Certainly there were people here before that. And it was all about mining, copper mining. Of course, Jerome, over our left shoulder here, is a mining community. It was called the wickedest town in the United States at one point. And then they shut all this stuff down back in the mid-50s. And in the 60s, the hippies showed up in Jerome because it was kind of a ghost town. I mean, people were living there, but it was really run down. And they started moving in, and the hippies were able to kind of revitalize Jerome, and that was cool that they did that. But we're just driving 2.7 miles to Tapco. That's the put-in, and that's where you do your kayaking from, and then just go down to Tuesday Groot. Now, Tuesday Groot National Monument is why that's the name of this road, is the Tuesday Groot Road, is behind us, and I'll show you that too. But it's an old pueblo, it's an old civilization. I believe it was the indigenous natives, the Sonawa. The Sonawan indigenous people that did the pueblo there, the civilization, and now it's sort of a ruins, but it's kind of characterized by flat roofed homes made out of local materials, and that is Verde River on the left there. And some people behind us are bringing their kayaks out here. We've kayaked this many times. But it's a nice road, easy to get to. You get there off of Broadway, so if you're driving through Main Street in Cottonwood, once you come out of Cottonwood, head towards Clarkdale, it turns into Broadway, and then you get off on Tuesday Groot, and it's well marked. You know, there's signs and everything. But you go to Tapco, that's the put-in, and Tuesday Groot is the takeout. So when you go under the bridge in your kayak, you'll see the little takeout point, and you can do that in, you know, hour and a half to 2.5 hours, depending. And you can use a regular kayak, you can use a sit on top, sit in, inflatable kayaks. People even use paddle boards, but there are some chutes. It's a class 1 kayaking experience. You don't have to be super experienced, but I have went over. Most people that I've went with have went over, because you got these little chutes and you gotta get it lined up really good. And if you're not lined up right, and using your paddle right, back paddling, and just getting your boat in the right direction, the front of it. So this is your Tapco. It's called Tapco, T-A-P-C-O, put-in spot. And there's really cool cliff dwellings you go by in this area. What? Oh, wow, this is wild. So nobody's even here. And it's pretty cool. They leave, you know, flotation devices for you to use, and then you just put them back. You got a bathroom here, lots of parking. But this is the little drive down. Now that's the Verde there. And this is where you'd pull down. You could drag your kayaks down here too. You don't have a vehicle that'll do this, but that's the Verde right there. And it runs 12 months a year, 140-mile Verde. So that's the Verde River right there. It's a really cool, beautiful little area here. Everybody kind of like queues up here and paddles around a little bit, and then boom, you've got some ruffles, they call them, ruffles down the way. And so that's the put-in point. And this is where all there are some commercial, like Clarkdale kayaking, and there's some other commercial businesses that actually you can rent your kayaks, and they take you down here and they pick you up and all that stuff. Yeah, I think it was $120 to do that, so it's not crazy money, and it's convenient, because if you're going to do this, you're going to need two vehicles. You're going to have to leave one down there at the takeout, and then you got to have the one up here because you got to get here. So you're going to need two vehicles. So it's not necessary if you contract with, say, Clarkdale Kayak Company, and that's who we went with the first time. And those were inflatables, and they don't handle as well. We ended up getting the sit-on kayaks, and they handle way better than the inflatables, because when you don't have a rudder, you know, a little, I don't know what you call it at the bottom of the kayak, but when you've got a little rudder down there, yeah, you can float them a little bit faster, or a little bit straighter. And they're faster. They are faster. For sure. And then this is where we came in. So you're going to see up here a big black sort of mountain. And that's the slag from the smelter. There was a big smelter here in Clarkdale. So that's all the slag, that's all the leftover material. From what I understand, there is a lot, because of technology now, they would like to reprocess that slag, because there's a lot of gold and silver and copper in there, and the technologies have gotten so much better, it's actually worth a lot of money. So I read. So now we're just gonna drive another couple miles back to the Tusagoot Bridge area, and that's also where you take your kayak out. Gray fox in this area, bald eagles. They actually shut down parts of Verde for nesting once a year for bald eagles. And you got javelina, a lot of javelina in the area. Yellow cuckoo bird, I forget. I think that's the name. There's one of those around here. Lots of birding. Gray herons are here. But you get some really nice views at the top here. Get an idea of Verde Valley. Again, this is all Verde Valley. Around 3,500 feet. And so it's a big wining area. It's a lot of wineries. And there's some vineyards here. And like 20 some wineries. Tasting rooms. And it's turned into a culinary place because of the wine. So there's good eating. And there's good drinking, I guess. And there's breweries here. And a lot of really good hiking. Blowout Wash is a really favorite place to go, and mountain bike blowout wash. Pretty neat. But nobody's really out today. They really aren't. I'm not seeing a lot of people out today. I imagine there are people kayaking now. Now it's later in the season, September. Actually, very first day of October, I think is what it is. I gotta look at the calendar maybe. Yeah. So it's getting water's a little cold. There's a rule in kayaking, you wear a wetsuit. It's called the 120 rule, where if the water is 60 and the air is 60, you wear a wetsuit. Other than that, 121, you're good to go. You just add those two together, obviously. But we're coming up to it now. Here's 11 acres available. If you need help in this area, in the Clarkdale, Cottonwood area, Sedona, whatever, Flagstaff, Canterbury, we have a real estate team, Jackie and I, Stacy, and we have a number of people on our team, and you can just go ahead and give us a holler. Our contact information is at the very end of this video, and we can help you with your real estate needs, buying or selling, whatever it might be. And our idea with this sort of neighborhood tour thing, area tour thing, is just to give you an idea. You don't have to come and drive it. We did it. And this will be an evergreen video. This will be a good video. This isn't going to change in the next 10 years too much, I wouldn't think. That's Tizzy Good up there. I'll do that on a short video. And then here is the Tizzy Good takeout point. This is where you pull your kayaks out after about 3 miles of floating. You can use a paddleboard. I don't know that I would, because some of these little chutes, riffles, are for sure a little challenging, even though it is a class 1. But it's a nice parking lot. They redid all this not long ago. But I'm gonna go down here and you'll see what I'm talking about. That's the monument bridge for Tizzy Good. And then this is the takeout point. So this is where you drag your kayaks up. Then you see where it says life jacket loaner station. Yeah, right down there, and then that's the little takeout point right there. You just bring it up that little teeny little ramp. It's not that bad. And you're good to go. Anyway, we appreciate you watching the Northern Arizona Real Estate Channel. I know this reminds you of Google Maps, but it's not. Really appreciate you. Hey, like, subscribe, and all that kind of good stuff. We'd love to have you for all these community, neighborhood, and area tours in Northern Arizona. All right, have a great day. God bless.